Hi everyone, Nigel Saunders here. It is day 2 of pruning up my larch forest. Last night we got a major snowstorm blew in. I'll show you some footage of that.
Oh, so here it is. You can see the wind has picked up and it's just horrendous out here. Absolutely horrendous. Like there's snow drifts really deep on the ground here. Look at this one.
So I thought I'd show you the weather, what it's like after I finished videoing part 1 of pruning up my larch forest. Pretty nasty outside. That was a look at the big storm that blew in. So it's 10 a.m. the next day now, and I'm already tired out. I'll show you what I did. I began the day by shoveling off the greenhouse, getting all the snow off the roof. So it's still holding together, which is nice. Next, I shoveled all the snow off the roof of the garage that's over the Porsche. And then next, I shoveled the driveway and the sidewalk. You can see the pile of snow I moved out front here. It was really heavy too. So last night the snow turned to freezing rain. You can see the freezing rain on the windows of the matrix. So that was my next job, clearing the car of all the ice on the windows. And then I did the paper route, hand delivering 19 papers around the neighborhood, trudging through the heavy snow. It was a good workout. So now I can relax for the rest of the day and work on my larch forest. I went inside and released part 1 of this video. Then I had lunch, so now I'm back at it this afternoon, pruning up the larch forest. I was working on this tree. I pruned up this front branch. I pruned up some of the branches at the back. I was working my way around. I didn't do much work on this tree yet, so I will do that. I have a branch from this tree that's growing across into the tree beside it, so I've got to shorten that. So I'll take it right back to here. Keeping, each tree having its own space. Again, so the branches aren't interacting with each other from tree to tree. So lots of snipping. Bit of a cathedral branch starting here too. It wants to grow upwards. In part 1 of this video, I gave a lot of opinions, on clip and grow versus wiring, and whenever I give opinions like that, it's going to generate a lot of talk, or I voicing my opinion, and there's going to be people who just, oh, that's not right, that's not. So I expected that kind of talk from, whenever you give your opinion on anything, whether, be anything, any subject matter, you're going to get people that agree with you. You're going to get people who disagree with you. You're going to get people who disagree with you strongly, people who are on the don't care either way. So I think the important thing is maybe it gets people talking. That's the important thing. I want people to always be thinking about bonsai and what they're doing and why they do the hobby, and why they enjoy the hobby maybe too. Yeah, so I answered a lot of comments, and I encourage you to comment. I don't always answer the comments because I physically can't. When I'm releasing a video almost every day, I get so many comments. I read every comment. So if you put a comment on the channel, I read it. And I wish I could get to everyone. I just can't. I tried, and some days I sit at the computer for hours answering comments, and then I look and I've done the comments for 2 videos and I'm like behind by 6 videos. And I would spend all my time sitting at a computer, and that's not the goal of the channel, is to sit at the computer all day. The goal of the channel was to get out here, out in nature, outdoors, and enjoy bonsai. I do enjoy the comments. I wish I could get to answer everyone, because I enjoy talking to people and the interaction with the comments. But I have to be realistic. And, you know, I've said in the past that people have suggested, well, why don't you hire someone and, you know, run the channel more as a business and hire someone who can answer the comments. And it's like, well, it's not a hobby then, it's a business. And I don't want, my growing bonsai isn't a business, it's a hobby for me. Like yesterday, I was getting tired and cold out here pruning the larch forest, and I had the option of going inside, and it was nice. It was nice to be able to spread this work out over 2 days. And if you're running bonsai as a business, you don't have that luxury. You're going to be out here not 4 hours in the afternoon. You're going to be out here like 12 hours every day doing this pruning. And yeah, it's fun. And there's a lot of, you know, worse things you could be doing in the world, but it's nice to be able to take your time on things. I think that's the beauty of a hobby versus a job, is that, you know, you do it when you have time, and when you've done enough of it, you do something else. I also want to say that, you know, yesterday I talked a lot about strange branches on trees and that, and it's not an excuse that you can grow any branch on your bonsai that they can look any way they want. You still have to have, you know, the branches have to look miniature and in scale with the tree, and realistic. It has to be a branch that you would see in nature, and you see a lot of strange things in nature, but it still has to look natural. It can't be, you know, like this branch that's sticking out the front of the tree. Well, the position of it is strange for a bonsai planting. Most people don't have trees or branches that stick straight out the front of the tree. But in nature, you see that all the time. It's not a branch that's tied in a knot or something, or it's not out of character with the rest of the trees or the species. So I'm not using naturalism as an excuse to not manipulate the tree, if that makes sense. So yeah, if this branch didn't look natural, I would have to remove it, or prune it or something. I'd have to make it look natural and miniature. And yeah, you can see, you know, I pruned branches off here because they were too thick. And yeah, and the positioning of the trees in the forest, you know, the one, it's not in line, but it's almost in line with the one in the behind. And probably, you know, if I do repot this, which I'm hoping to do, I could just rotate the forest slightly, and the problem would be solved from the distance view of the forest. So there's solutions, and yeah, I just don't want people to get the impression that anything goes in bonsai. That, I mean, it does, it's an art form, but to create a miniature tree, there are rules, and that is what you would see in nature. Nature kind of determines the rules. If you can find an example in nature, then it's probably a correct thing to do with your bonsai. If there's no such example in nature, then maybe you're doing something that's a little bit foreign to what a tree looks like. So this pruning I'm doing today, what it can do is, because I'm pruning the tips off the branches, that it can stimulate back budding. And you'll see that later on in the season, that, you know, all the buds I've left will start to extend, the tree will start gaining vigor, and then you'll start to see some back buds developing on the branches. So it's kind of exciting, and the back buds will kind of, they'll be there for the next winter when I prune it, when they're bare, and you can utilize those back buds and just keep chasing those branches back if possible. I'm going up into the apex of the trees now. I've already done this tree and the one back here and this one, but the two trees behind here, I haven't touched the apex on them yet. And you can see all the multitude of branches up here that I've got to simplify, otherwise it gets thick and bulbous in the apex and starts looking really, really ugly. You can see this one is actually thickening up here a bit too much, and that's probably because I have a very thick, vigorous branch behind here. So I'm going to start selecting branches in this apex. And again, I want them growing upwards in the apex. So I still have too many branches here. Let me show you a close-up of that. All right, you're seeing a whole bunch of apexes here. So I was working on this one, this branch here, if you can see that. So I just have too many growing points in this branch. So my goal is to, shorten it. It's getting far away from the trunk. You can see it's getting quite long. I don't have any buds back here, which is always a problem. So I'm going to prune it off right here, taking the whole end off this branch. A lot of vigor. Here I go, like that. So sort of a big cut there. I'll just clean it up a bit, like that. And then I'll take off, I think this one's vertical. I'm going to take the vertical one off, keep my horizontal bud there, and prune my center stub out here, and then I've got a bud here. So really simplifying that branch to 2, dividing from 1 to 2, shortening it as much as I can and simplifying it. Here's another one. I've got vertical growth here I can take back, like that. What else can I do? I have a stub in the center here I can take out, like that. Another stub here. I can reduce this branch back. I can could shorten this branch. I have a branch back here. Let me show you from the other view. Hopefully you can still see that. Just flip this around. You can barely see that. Yeah, I have one growing closer to the trunk, so I could take the whole end off that branch here, and I think I will. I've got to, kind of chase this branch back. So there, taking that end off, shortening that branch. Now you can still see this area is just a cluster of branches, so I've got to simplify that. So I'll get rid of my horizontal and downward facing branches. Prune branches back. Take branches off, like this one, and this one. Take my stub out the center. Now I'm going to look at this from the front because I need to prune it from the front view. So I also wanted to reduce this in height if I can. This is going to be the tallest tree in the forest, the second tallest, and the third. So if I can reduce this in height a bit, it would be good. So I'm going to take off this vertical shoot here, like that. I'm going to prune this one back. Take my stub out the middle here. Now, can I prune that whole leader back? I probably could. Right now I have 2 thick sections. I've got a vertical one here which flows nicely with the trunk line. And I've got my thicker branch over here. I could definitely take this vertical part off here, kind of reducing the vigor on that branch. I've got a back branch I can take out like that, and I can probably take this section off and prune this back. Take my stub out like that, so it's really reduced that branch. This one I can cut back to here. I don't think I want to prune this part off. I could grow this as my leader. Or this one. Maybe I do. I have two options there, so I will take this off. It'll take some height off the tree. Like that. Yeah. So now you can see I've got a couple options for a new apex. Well, actually there's three options. So eventually, you know, this can get pruned off if this grows really nicely. If I get some dieback on one of them will live. It's good to have backups on your apex. So yeah, actually, I don't have any other branches out this direction, so I think I better keep this one. Otherwise, I could get rid of it, or this back one. Maybe I should get rid of that back one. I think I should. I think it's just developing too much thickness to this trunk. You can see it's already getting bulbous. And I have lots of back branches. And I think, you know, reducing the apex to 2. I don't know. It's a tough decision on that one. It's kind of ugly right now. Yeah, it's a tough call because, you know, if I would take... I would like to take both of these branches off and just leave this, but then I've got no branching in this whole area here. Which means, you know, then in the future, the only branches I can have are up here. So if it grows taller, then I can... Yeah. Tough decision. Tough. Yeah, I think... I have to do something here. It's still too bulbous here, and I'm thinking of taking this side off. I think it's the only solution to slim that apex down. So here I go. This is kind of a big cut. Let me position the camera. Well, I did the big cut on this branch, and I guess I didn't hit the button on the camera to record it properly. So sorry about that. However, it's done. I took that big bulb off here. I pruned this branch up to kind of a small branch. And I was saying, you know, this could possibly become the apex of the tree someday. You know, you're always replacing these thicker apex with thinner branches if you can. The next apex I'm going to work on is this one. And you can see it's looking pretty good right now. It's got good taper. But you can see there's a lot of branches in the apex here that are going to get very vigorous, and then I'll end up with a big thickening on the top of the tree. So I've got to simplify it. I'm going to start taking branches back, reducing the length of them. And then you can see in my apex here I have a division. Two fairly thick branches forming. I only need to keep one of them. And I think in this case, because I have a branch on this side, I'll take off this part. So here I go. Big cut. Like that. Where did that go? Right here. Taking that off. And then I'll take this back. And then I can take my apex down in height. I can take this part off. I can reduce this back to here. I've got a branch going up the back here. I'll take that off. Some stubs I can remove. And I think I'll take this one right off. So this is my new apex here. There's some buds around here. And then I've got this branch coming out the back, which is quite thick. And I don't think I need that. Let me look from the front. I mean, I could keep it, but I'm just worried it's going to thicken up. It's tough call. I'll reduce it back. I'll take this part off, and I will take any buds back here. I don't know where to shorten this. The buds are all out here. It's kind of long. I'm going to take this stub off here. I might be better just taking that whole branch off. I mean, there is some buds. Some buds at the back. Yeah, I'll take that whole branch off. I'm going to prune it back to here. Like that. There's still some living buds behind here. So now I've got this branch on the right hand side here, which is getting quite thick. You know, ideally in your apex everything should be thin, but this is getting thick, so I've got to reduce all the branching back. Here comes the sun. Stub up the center here, it can come out. That reduces the branches back, but you can still see it's pretty thick looking. So I want to reduce that. I think I'll take it down to here and take this off and take this off. Like that. And then I have one branch come out the back. I don't want that. So that really simplifies that branch now. So it shouldn't thicken up very much, hopefully. So I'm coming down the apex now to here. I think I already kind of pruned it back, but I haven't selected my branches. It's getting kind of long, it's getting far away from the trunk, so I'm going to come back. I've got a living branch here. I could prune it off here, and I think I should. Like that. Keeping it short and compact. This one can come off to here. Now this one, this is all part of the same branch. I could take the thick part off here. And I think, should I? I don't have anything growing out the back, whereas I do have a branch up front. I think I'll just take this bud off here. See what happens in that area. I think I can grow something out the back here. I think that'll look good. So that pretty well gets my, let me just prune that off. I don't want that bud there. That gets my apex pruned up. You can see how it's simplified, it's compact. I've got a lot of the thickness pruned away, as much as I can anyway. It's always a challenge on larch to keep these apex thin. Sometimes I feel like it's a losing battle, but you know, I keep pruning them and it seems like I'm just barely keeping them under control. It's a constant battle to keep these branches from thickening up too much and the apex from thickening up too much. So I've started kind of keeping these under control after the first flush of growth comes out, keeping the vigor out of the apexes, and it seems to be working fairly well. I wouldn't say, again, you know, someday I might have to grow a new branch up to replace, cut off the whole apex or make it deadwood or something, but yeah, I don't know. Here's a vertical branch I can cut off. I don't know how successful I'll be long term with this, if I can keep it under control, or you know, if I have to start doing drastic measures like deadwood tops and growing up new branches for the apex. I guess there's always possibilities. Now this branch at the back here, let's look at this one. This branch, I don't like it. It's too fan shaped. You know, there's no branch leader to it, and it's kind of getting long. It's fairly far away from the trunk. So two objectives is to simplify it from, you know, that fan shape to get a branch leader and to shorten it. So it's going to be hard to shorten it. I can take off this part and shorten it like that. I can I don't like it dividing from 1 to 3 here. I'm going to take off the one that goes behind the tree. So this one right here. Like that. So now it's reduced from dividing from 1 to 2, which will help with the thickness of this branch. And then I'm trying to get them all compact. I can prune this bottom part off this branch like that, makes it more compact. I can prune this vertical growth off and prune this back. Oh. So I've got a bud at the back behind here, one on the top. So I think I've shortened that and simplified it as much as I can. The branch to the left is my next challenge. So I'll start reducing the branch back if I can. Again here I've got the branch kind of dividing from 1 to 3. I better take some of that back. From the front view, this part of the branch makes it look longest, far away from the trunk. So I'm going to prune that back. I'm going to take it right off, actually. So now I'm dividing from 1 to 2. And I don't think I can do much else on that branch. Clean up some stubs. But that's about it. It's as short and as simple as I can get it. Yeah, that's all I can do. I'm going to continue pruning away at the apexes on some of the smaller trees and the branches that surround the apex to kind of reduce them back in simplicity and vigor, getting them as compact as I can. So I'll just keep working away on the trees. I've got a branch up near the apex here that's getting really thick. If you look at the front of the tree, you can see how thick this branch is. It'd be nicer if it was slimmer, but you can't make a branch slimmer, but I've got to take vigor out of it. And you can see it divides into 2 here. So I think I've got to prune off that whole back section of the branch, a big cut. But I think that's going to really improve that branch. So here I go. All right, here I go. I'm taking a lot of vigor out of this branch by cutting the whole end off here. Big cut coming up. Make sure the camera's recording. Yes. Here I go. Wow, that was a big cut. See the branch I just cut off? Wow. There's my cut point here. Let me just clean that up with the nibblers. Yeah, there. So the branch doesn't look a whole lot of different from the front, but it's certainly got some vigor taken away from it. So now I'll prune it up, taking away my stubs, my hanging growth. Another big stub here. More hanging growth. Take off this vertical growth. That's looking better. You can see it's looking much, much better. I'm going to take this whole branch out of the middle here. It's kind of the inside of a curve. I've got to take more vigor out of this. I think the rest isn't too bad. I mean, I've taken a lot of vigor out of that branch. That should do. That's looking pretty good. Kind of This branch kind of reaches upwards on an angle, and the branch leader kind of follows that curve or that angle. So I think it looks okay. Yeah. This branch is a bit of a strange one. I've got to do something there. I'm going to have to prune this back part off. Like that. It's just looking kind of strange. Looks better now. More in tune with the rest of the branches. One here I think I can reduce, take off. Alright, so that was kind of a dramatic cut, but it certainly simplified the top of the tree. I have finished the pruning of my larch forest, at least for today. There'll always be some more pruning and touching up. I always seem to miss a branch here and there that starts growing in spring and you realize, oh, I better prune that back. So there'll be lots more pruning coming, but the major pruning to get it ready for spring is completed. So let's have a look at the forest now. First, I'll show you what I've pruned off. So you can see there's a lot of branch tips and there's a lot of, fairly developed major branches that have come off. And some of them in their apex, and there's some, for this forest, there's some pretty big cuts. So let's have a look at what's left. Here is a look at the forest from a kind of a low angle shot. Things to note that you'll see everything looks less branchy. I took a lot of ramification off the branches to get them more compact. So it's definitely lost kind of that congested, mature look. But that is a look that will come in the future as all the branches sort of start maturing at the same rate. So I've definitely simplified the forest today because I just have to, especially in the upper part of the trees. If you don't, it just becomes thick and bulbous and will look hideous in years to come. So it's kind of a step backwards and hopefully 2 steps forwards eventually. And that's the way pruning is. It's always taking away for the promise of better things coming in the future. Next, I'm going to fly into the forest and show you the forest from different angles and different perspectives to kind of give you an idea of what it's all looking like. And then after that, I'm going to select some of the branches that I really like, some clip and grow branches, and kind of show you how they look up close. Let's go in now and I'll show you some of my favorite branches or branches that I like that are kind of developing really nicely. I think this lowest branch on this tree is really, really nice. It's got nice divisions. It's nice and slim. I think it's a good looking branch, that one. Yeah, really, really happy with that branch. If I could get every branch to look like that, I'd be really happy. The one above it is really nice too. That one there. Some of these are quite nice. Maybe they're a little flat. I could try and get some more up and down movement to them. But they're not bad. Some of the ones on the main tree are looking quite nice too. There's a lot of good branches happening. Some of the ones out the back are looking good. You can see some of the zigzag branches down here. They're quite, you know, snake-like movement to them. Here's one here that has a real kind of S-bend to it. Yeah, there's some cool branches on these trees. And every branch is different. I think that was one of my points yesterday, is that every branch on this tree is different. And that's because it was clip and grown, not wired. So every branch has the exact same pattern to it, the same angle, the same style. It's with clip and grow, it's kind of, you know, you clip it and then it grows, and you clip it and it grows. And you take what the tree gives you. I mean, you can try and prune it so you predict what's going to happen, but very often there's surprises in the forest and the trees that you didn't expect, and you go with it. And it creates a really natural looking tree, branch structure and everything. And every branch is different because the tree gives you different growth on every branch. And it makes it a very interesting forest to look at. You don't just have to look at one branch and every other branch is the same. Every branch is different, so you can look at each branch individually, and it's interesting and new. And it's nice to see, I think. Ever since I've started YouTube, I've never dropped my camera, and I was always very proud of that fact that, you know, I treat it very carefully. And today I was working away on my forest. I had my back to the camera because I wasn't filming. I had the camera way back in the greenhouse, and one of the legs in the tripod, I guess because it warmed up here in the greenhouse when the sun came out, one of the legs, I guess, was slowly collapsing, and the camera was slowly tipping on the tripod. So I was working away, and then there's this big bang, and I turned around and the camera had tipped over, and it smashed my lens hood off the end of the camera. I was very worried. I checked the camera over. It was all working fine. The autofocus seemed to be working. So far everything's working fine on the camera. I don't think it was that hard an impact. It just really scared me. Like, both physically, and I was scared the camera was broken. So all seems to be okay. So I'm going to have to really watch that tripod and maybe get another that has a better leg on it. This one's, I've been using this tripod for, I think, 4, maybe 5 years now, and I think those legs, the locks on them are kind of wearing out a bit. So yeah, one of those things that happens. So that is it for today. I've got my larch forest all pruned up. It's quite a difference to me. I noticed quite a difference, and yeah, it's it's a balancing act between keeping it pruned back and simplified in the apexes versus, you know, you want all that nice ramification, but I just can't have it because otherwise the trees would grow out of shape. So I'm trying to prune it the best I can to kind of keep that tight conical shape, the size so they don't get bigger. And yeah, I think it's working. I think the trees are looking good. They're getting older all the time. They're getting that cracked bark on them now. The branches are starting to get age to them. So I think the forest is definitely improving, and I hope I can keep improving it into the far future. So that's all for today. I'm Nigel Saunders. Thanks for joining me in the Bonsai Zone.